welcome back to When the Night Comes. I'm Asian Mischief. Let's jump back on in. I head straight for the shop when I leave the forest without incident, remembering my promise to Ezra and August that I'd let them know I was safe. I push the door open and spot Ezra and Finn in a somewhat heated debate. They both straighten up when they see me, Finn apparently too distracted to anticipate my arrival. His eyes are wide for a moment before he settles back into that implacable stillness. Implacable.
Oh, you're back. We were getting worried.
He steps towards me, leaving Finn where he's apparently stuck in place. Finn said you found Fierro? I'm so relieved. Yes, Fierro's alive. We should get him out of there soon if we can. They aren't exactly treating him with kindness. I look at Finn, anticipating an outburst. It'd be justified. They've been taking his blood and starving him. What for? What could they possibly need with his blood? I see a hint of black flicker in the whiteness of his eyes. The first time his poised facade is waved around me, a glimpse of the creature that lingers within him. I go to him, laying my hand upon his. It works, calming whatever threatens to surface. Once again, I fucking love this coat, or whatever it is. It is gorgeous. I want one for my very own. Sorry. Ezra looks away, giving us a moment of privacy. He turns his hand in mine, our fingers brushing before he withdraws his touch. It's okay, we'll get him back. Ezra returns his attention to us, our concerned friend. All Finn can do is avert his gaze, almost defiantly. It doesn't go unnoticed by me. There's a clear and unusual tension between them tonight, something I can't quite place. I seem to be collecting secrets quite efficiently lately, so it can't hurt to try and pry another, and maybe help diffuse whatever this is. Are you two okay? Finn almost looks straight through me. Ezra's eyes widen, but he recovers quickly. His smile strangely earnest. Well, what do you mean? I don't mean to interfere, but you both seem so tense. Is something wrong?
We just had a little disagreement. It happens, especially with all of this going on.
Ezra's gaze snaps to Finn. Eye contact fixing and holding before Finn exhales sharply, apparently willing to be a little more open than the witch.
With everything that has happened, I made the decision that I would be more mindful and keep my distance from Ezra. Him being seen with me made the enforcers make his life a living hell, which he will vigorously deny.
Ezra opens his mouth to protest, but Finn pointedly continues. He softens then, a fond look in his eyes as his gaze flickers between us. You cannot live your life with them breathing down your neck. I know what they do to people who they feel threatened by, or who they'd like to use as scapegoat. Look at Fierro. You hold knowledge from working with them. They're afraid of you.
I refuse to stand by and let those I care about get hurt. I've had enough, and if staying away helps them get off your back, helps protect you, then so be it.
I see a flaw in his logic, however thoughtful his exclamation might be. Don't you think you're stronger together, that we're all stronger together? I know he means well, but from being in Lunaris and being around this weird and wonderful little family I've joined, I've come to see that strength really is better in numbers. Using logic, I roll my eyes, hoping he sees my point. I understand where you're coming from with this, but in such a situation, don't you think it's better to take some risks? Being away from those you care about truly does only more harm than good. Your presence gives them strength and you face the consequences together. Finn, you're expecting to be everywhere and nowhere at once, and we're all taking risks here. Exactly. Please tell me you at least see how much better we are with you around, as part of this unit. He looks to his side, a brighter smile forming before he turns his gaze to us. I've lived a long time. I may be just a little overly cautious, but yes, I see. Man, I don't know what I want to choose. I like Ezra too, but I think I'm just gonna date Finn. You seem to care about one another a great deal. I hope I'd helped even a little. Ezra bites his lip, fiddling with his sleeve.
I'm used to having so much company, being surrounded by those that I love. So going from that to whatever this is has been hard.
I do care about both of you. He looks at me, his fingers twitching at his side.
I can't bear the thought of you paying dire consequences for being seen with me. but the thought of stepping back and letting it happen sickens me more. My fondness for you grows immeasurably.
Thank you for helping me see. Ezra looks at me, something flickering behind his pretty green eyes. Curiosity, maybe. You've become close, haven't you? Finn smiles at me, nodding. Yes. Ezra smiles at him, and the vampire huffs a quiet laugh. Then something wicked flickers across his features, the mood shifting, becoming a little playful. I'm so glad. It's about time we found someone to put him back in his place. Yes, I'm an idiot. I know. You didn't need to read my mind for that one, did you? And just like that, everything seems a little lighter. Finn smiles at me, bright and beautiful, as he wraps his arm around my shoulder, pulling me flush against his side and pressing a kiss to my temple.
Don't let him convince you it's easy to put me in my place now, will you?
I slap my palm upon his chest, enjoying the shocked little oof it draws from him. If you say so. Annoyingly and embarrassingly, I feel a yawn brewing, unable to stifle it. My fatigue suddenly catches up to me, and I find two pairs of wide eyes staring at me. Tired, are you? Just a little. Come, I'll walk you home. I lean my weight against his side a little more, and he squeezes my arm. Sounds good to me. Ezra groans, his brow furrowed as he looks at us. What is it? You're very cute together. It's a little distracting. In the best possible way, of course. Ezra, please. Sorry, it's true though. You look good together. I'll get out of my shop so I can collapse into bed. Good night. Good night, Ezra. Thanks for everything today. The honor was mine. Ready? I look at him, feeling warm. Ready. The wolf comes to a startling halt as Finn and I enter. Finn grumbles beside me, his arms slung around my shoulders. He ushers me towards the bar. I suspect he has a hankering for his preferred poison, by the way his golden eyes light up the side of the whiskey bottles lined up against the back of the bar. Fancying a drink, are you? Why, are you offering? The second I see his grin, I realize how that might have come across. He laughs when he sees the recognition flash across my face. I started to respond.
You can't go saying things like that to a man like me. Let's just go upstairs, You need rest. You deserve rest.
Yes, please. I take the hand that he offers, ignoring the pointed stares that Edna and every other patron throw us as he guides me towards the staircase. Finn closes the door behind him, smiling at me as I lean against the wall. I watch as he politely takes in the surroundings, his eyes flickering on the sparsely decorated room. This is cute? I huff an incredulous laugh, knowing he's joking, but not quite having the energy to react. Oh yes, very lavish. He hums, tilting his head this way and that. Then he wanders over to my bed, running his fingers over the sheets and giving the mattress an inquisitive push. Then he sits on it, bouncing up and down, clearly unimpressed with the distinct lack of working bed springs. He creaks loudly, very loudly, and he snorts rather uncouthly.
Oh no. This won't do at all. There are no secrets to be kept in here, are there?
I groan, pushing away from the wall and dragging myself to join him. The second I hit the mattress, he pulls me backwards, and we land with a quiet thud, staring up at the ceiling. I curl up against him, feeling his cool skin through his many layers of clothing, and somehow it comforts me. Thank you for bringing me home.
The pleasure is mine. It was a selfish act of chivalry, anyway.
I pull myself upright and Finn follows. I turn to face him, registering his earnest smile. Selfish? He turns his palm upward, wiggling his fingers. I take the hint, eagerly lacing my fingers with his. He squeezes me tightly. Yes, because it means I just got this little bit of extra time with you, doesn't it? Oh. I'm glad that you're so chivalrous, then. I'll be sure to keep it up. His smile fades, replaced by another kind of expression entirely. Something that sends a chill rolling down my spine. Every single one of my nerve endings on fire. I see my opening, I take it, feeling emboldened by that gaze. I should rest, but... one for the road? One of those dark brows raises, and his smile is truly a thing of sin, something that sends my heart swiftly to its knees.
As if you ever need to ask. I've thought of nothing else.
He shifts closer, if such a thing is possible, their bodies already seamed so tightly. He cups my jaw with an iron palm, the edgings flickering brightly upon contact. It feels good to see, to know that I can coax such a visceral response from his dark lashes flutter close, and he presses his cooled lips to my warm. Tongue finds tongue. I feel like tongue kissing is overrated. And he tastes like peppermint, like coming up for fresh air. I smile when his thumb rushes over my flushed cheeks, and Finn pulls away with a wicked grin far too soon. I could get used to this. I bite my bottom lip, unconsciously chasing his touch as he drops his hand from my face. I think I've already gotten used to it. Good. He reluctantly stands, and I mourn the closeness immediately, though he still holds my hand, bringing it to the lips and pressing a kiss to my knuckles, his eyes not leaving mine. Good night, fair hunter. If I could dream, they'd surely be consumed by thoughts of you. Then he turns, quick and alert, his hand balled to a fist at his side as he sniffs the air.
Wait. I smell blood.
His stance is defensive, and my senses are flung into overdrive as the door to my room slams open. There stands a bloodied and beaten Aurora, a disheveled shell of the calm and collected woman I met just over a week ago. I quickly move to stand by Finn's side. His teeth are bared, but he stands firm beside me, reaching out as if he means to grab me if required. Ice blue eyes flick between him and I, and Aurora leans against the doorframe, leaving a bloody handprint upon the wood. Finn looks at me, waiting for a signal and trusting my instincts. Aurora, what are you doing here? Deep, ragged breath. Hunter Adams, I think I may require your assistance. Holy shit. You must be truly desperate to come to me for help. Hunter Adams, I think I may require your assistance. I looked at Finn, who was apparently dutifully waiting for me to break the ice. Who did this to you? Aurora's posture is visibly off kilter, legs shaking as she slides her hand down the doorframe. She's covered in blood, but the only injuries I see are a few scratches on her forearm. It's too much to be just her own from a quick once-over. The moment Aurora's stance stutters, Finn is at her side in a flash, catching her before she crumples to the ground. His nostrils are flaring and he looks at me with dark eyes.
We can't keep her here. If anyone calls the enforcers, you won't look too good tending to a bleeding cultist.
Though she's in no position to be snarky, Aurora still manages to smirk at Finn's comment. Working against your precious puppet masters, are we? And all tucked away in your quarters with the big, mean vampire of all things. You might be more interesting than I initially thought, Hunter Adams.
Watch your tongue, Woodrich.
Aurora. She takes a deep breath, pointedly ignoring the snarl that Finn has fixed upon his face. I encountered a little trouble on my evening walk. Finn giggles. Do you have a cold?
No. Please, do continue.
I ignore their little exchange, guessing that Finn knows a little more about her than I care to find out. He helps her over to the bed, letting her fall onto the mattress. When you say trouble, a creature, the one that's been giving you hunters some actual work to do. Finn lets out a pained groan, running his iron hand over his face before stepping close to me. He takes me with the arm and leans in to press his lips to my ear.
You really should take her elsewhere. I guarantee Willenheim will want to hear what horrible little things she's been up to.
I take one look at her. She's bloodied and disheveled, with undoubtedly quite a story to tell, and I decide that Finn is definitely correct. Trust me. Look, the last time I encountered it, it was receptive to my visit, but this time, not so much as you can see. I was just trying to help it. Wait, the last time? She shrugs, uncaring, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world that she'd be comfortable around the thing that's been murdering my colleagues. Necrezut. When's the wedding? I nudge him with my elbow, trying very hard not to laugh. He notices, and that makes him far too smug. Ugh. Stop that. I came here for assistance, not a show. You've always been weak for humans, Casimir. This little union doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Aurora is just a little too familiar for my liking, especially after revealing what she just has. The gravity of the situation doesn't touch her, and her callousness irks me. You know I should arrest you for being in contempt of the agency. Consider your words before you next speak. She bristles, but she seems strangely impressed by my authoritative tone. Very well. Finn looks at me, his eyes dark, if not a little curious, as Aurora steadies herself and heads for the door. He leans in, his voice low.
Nice work, General.
I playfully swat him away, and his answering laugh is Aurora glaring daggers at us, clearly unamused. Having him around doesn't do much for my professionalism, apparently. Wait, how are we going to get her past a tavern full of people? Finn crinkles his nose at her, sniffing the air.
She's very bloody, isn't she? Not exactly subtle.
Then he grins, and something tells me he's got it covered. Leave it to me. I gently take hold of Aurora's arm, assuming she's not a flight risk, but taking precautions regardless. See you later?
I'll be counting down the seconds, Hunter.
After an apparently successful exercise and distraction back on the wolf, I've rushed Aurora across town to August's rather impressive abode without further incident. They stand in the doorway and stare at her with crinkled nose. I'd say that it's nice to see you, but... Can we come in? I meet their gaze, trying to convey their urgency.
Just don't get blood on the sofa. Please.
Noted. I take in my surroundings, and this home couldn't possibly be owned by anyone other than August Willenheim. This is beautiful, August. Thank you. It's nice having my own little sanctuary, though I don't spend as much time here as I would like. I tentatively take a seat beside them, both of us glaring at Aurora across the expensive coffee table. Aurora clears her throat, her eyebrows climbing high as she stares at us from across the room. Can we start? I'd like to go home if we can get this over with quickly.
Explain exactly what you've been up to, Miss Woodridge. In detail.
She crosses her legs, smoothing the rumpled, dirty fabric of her skirt. August watches, appreciative of her attempt to collect herself, but perceptive that none of her filth makes contact with their home. No more than it must, at least. Firstly, in the interest of protecting myself, I want you to assure me that what I say here won't be used against me. From what I gather, you're working against the Enforcers, so I suppose you do well to agree to this condition. August looks at me for confirmation, and I shrug, knowing that she's right. We can't afford for her to go to them at this point, to go to anyone but us. It stays between us. Good. Now, I understand that you're aware that the level of creature activity has increased here in Lunaris as of late in Force of Willenheim. August nods. Yes, but Harry has done an excellent job putting in systems in place to ensure that we're on top of it. The number of fatalities has significantly dropped in the last year, if that's what you're getting at. Aurora hums, contemplating their statement with a tilt of her head. Lunaris has the lowest mortality rate of any town in the whole of Escria until very recently. Did you know that? They shift uncomfortably in their seat, avoiding eye contact with the both of us. She's playing a game, almost mocking August's obvious intelligence, I presume. Of course I was aware of this, yes. Don't you think that's awfully strange? That all of a sudden one of the most peaceful areas would turn into the epicenter of creature activity? That one day they began descending upon us in droves, stronger and faster than before? That no one in your agency investigated potential cause? I look at them again, assessing their reaction. My interest is considerably piqued. Lunaris was never on my radar before I was called here. I only knew of its existence because of Harry and James's notoriety, so I certainly didn't know this. Escria is made up of cities and towns far larger than Lunaris, so for Aurora to claim that the sleepy little place is the hotspot for creature activity is beyond alarming. August? The deep breath August responds.
I'm aware that there was an investigation, but that nothing was found. We chalked it up to the simple fact that we aren't doing a good enough job of eliminating the creatures as a country. That they are multiplying at a rate far quicker than we and everyone else can effectively handle.
Another quiet hum. I gather she's simply testing them. Aurora knows a lot more than she's letting on, clearly, and it brings back a touch of her knowing resolve. So why in the last year has that magically gotten better? Until these recent murders began, Lunaris was relatively peaceful again, wouldn't you say? Not as peaceful as before, but an improvement was seen, yes. I know wiser than you, really, Enforcer, but I do know that this thing committing these murders is no ordinary creature. And you know that the method in which your precious leader has used to fix the problem is an unsavory one. But something isn't right here in Lunaris. Something is drawing them here, and whatever that something is, it's making them stronger. I look at Aurora, taking note of her confidence and her poise. It's impressive, but I can't help but wonder how the hell she knows all this information she's just unloaded on us. You know an awful lot about the Enforcers, even more than us, apparently. How? She shrugs, nonchalant, not quite getting the gravity of the situation, I feel. People talk.
To the twins that alienate everyone by telling them they deserve to get gobbled up by monsters for daring to be afraid. It sounds unlikely.
Believe it or not, there are people in this sad little town that are more afraid of the Enforcers or your hunter pets than they are of the monsters. They see you talking to the things that lurk in the catacombs, the vampires, the lycan, the demon. They may smile and seem friendly, but they are just as much of an untamed creature as the ones that lurk in the woods that you don't allow to drink at the tavern or sleep in your beds. Tell us what happened last night. How did you find the creature? Aurora daintily claps her hands in her lap, taking her time to respond. I often check the graveyard and the forest surrounding the ibex before I sleep. I like to know that there's no creatures out there that may need my help. You have Lux for that. Does she not do her job sufficiently enough? Lux is an incredible guard, but she doesn't care for the creatures in the way that I do. She simply serves to protect us, not them. Why do you require a night guard exactly? Before Aurora can speak, August pipes up.
Because we were fed up of them calling in problems and using up our limited resources. The only real issues they ever had was some angry townsfolk with a kitchen knife.
If you hadn't already noticed, the ibex isn't exactly popular around here, so we assigned Lux as an unofficial guard to keep watch. Anyway, as I was saying, I did my usual nightly check and I heard something in distress in the forest. I found a creature. The creature. A ghastly looking thing, but it was crying. Crying? Lux lets out a little burst of laughter, quickly covering her mouth so that the sound has escaped. I cannot explain, but that's what it sounded like, hunched over against a tree trunk, clutching the bark, just wailing. I approached it simply ignored me and retreated into the forest, but... She holds out her arm, the gash is deep and angry. As you can see, it wasn't so interested in me this time. It attacked me. Uninterested in me this time. It attacked me, pinned me to the ground. It only escaped because it heard something and scurried off. Shit. I look at August and they're pinching the bridge of their nose, their eyes closed. I watch as August rises and walks to stand in front of the fire. Aurora hasn't taken her eyes off me. Her expression is inscrutable. You need to see a healer. She shrugs, uncaring, sparing her bleeding arm a fleeting glance. Like I said, it's just a scratch. They're right.
You don't know what the hell that thing is. And you're already unsettling enough without suddenly sprouting horns.
You should seek out Ezra. At least we know he'll be discreet. She stands and quickly heads for the door, as if the moment to leave this place couldn't have come sooner. Before she reaches for the handle. Wait. Yes?
Don't forget this kindness we've shown you here tonight. We could have thrown you in the dungeons for what you've been withholding, but I'd rather not see someone else disappear. Though our beliefs may differ, we are here to protect you.
I stand to join them, a show of solidarity in that promise. Aurora may not believe their words, but their purpose has and always been to protect us. Stay out of the woods, Aurora. Creatures like this are not something you play house with. Make no mistake, this is something even you cannot feel sympathy for. It's killed mindlessly and unprompted. She smiles, and the first time it seems genuine, if not a little reserved. I'll come straight to you if I see it again, and thank you. I'm sorry that I brought her here. You did the right thing. Do not apologize. They take a seat, sinking deeply into the cushions with a grateful groan. Is it bad that I remain unfazed by such conversations? Not a bloody thing has been the norm, apparently.
This town is infested with secrets. I can't wait until all of this is over, if it ever will be.
How am I supposed to do my job and protect these people when I'm left so in the dark? You care enough to keep trying, that's all that matters. The people of Lunaris are lucky to have you, August. Thank you, Raven. It'll be morning soon. With a heavy sigh, August curls her legs up beneath them. Yet another night of no rest. What's new in this town, I suppose I'd better try and get an hour or two of sleep. I'll head back to the wolf and attempt to do the same. We'll reconvene tomorrow. Sleep well, Hunter. I wake barely refreshed, but with an inkling, a gut feeling, or something. The ibex is more desolate than I remember. The door opens easily enough, even though there isn't anybody there to greet me, and the chapel within has only pockets of sunlight where it streams through the cracked windows. The rest is drowned in shadows, but shadows that I know are safe, I guess. My instincts warn me of nothing else other than two bright presences perched atop the dais at the end of the room. And as they're here, I feel I don't need to worry about my own safety. Strange that I feel the way about two demonic entities of the highest class. Me, a hunter, alone in this banded temple, like the plot of some corny horror novel. Elaine and Omen's conversation peters as I close the door behind me and approach them. The way they tilt their heads in perfect synchronization reminds me eerily of the Woodridge twins. Their expressions are quick to change to big, similar grins. Draven, I did not expect to see you here. He slides off the dais and comes down to meet me. I incline my head at him in greeting, but my eyes are on the still-seated Elaine. She stares back at me and smiles, bright and soft, and raises her delicate hand in a small wave. It's good to see you well, Elaine. Elaine beams at that, clapping her hands together. Oh, it's good to see you too. I'm sorry the last time we met things were so messy. Small oof. Elaine pushes herself off the dais and approaches me as well. My second, I suppose, impression of her is that she's far cheerier and much less cautious than Omen. There's a spring to her even if she strides, eating up the distance between us with wide, confident steps. She sketches a curtsy for me, and when I try to return it with a bow, she giggles. Thank you. I was hoping I would see you again. We both were. I heard something happened with Aurora. Yes, Armorus looked so worried. She picks anxiously at the cuff of her sleeve if she mentions him. My eyes are drawn to the movement, as are Omen's. Is that imagination, or is there a tiny crease between his brow? Does he not like Armorus? Before things gonna get awkward, however, I clear my throat. An idea strikes me. I have a question, actually, for the both of you. Identical brown eyes blink at me. They really are twins, even if not human ones. When we were speaking with Aurora last night, she mentioned something. It seems in the last few years, supernatural activity has been at an all-time high in Lunaris. August figured it was only because the volume of creatures was increasing faster than the enforcers and our hunters couldn't control them, but we have our doubts. And I know instantly I was correct to doubt, as the air around us seems to shift and change. Omen sucks in a deep breath, his hand going to clutch at the back of his neck, eyes averted. Elaine purses her lips and clasps her hands in front of her, but she keeps her gaze on me. For a moment, she's no longer a soft-eyed young woman with large teeth and a pretty smile. For a fraction of that moment, I perceive her as the thing behind those human details. Something old and seething and immense gazes at me through those eyes. The pressure near crushes my lungs with the force of her presence. Then dissipates so fast I could be convinced I was imagining it. And it's because Omen's hand is on her shoulder. No, it's fine. Draven isn't trying to. He trails off. Elaine pats his hand, but it slides off and turns to face me fully. The smile is back, if just a little sharper than before, and she raises a hand. I almost flinch, but all she does is point at my weapon. Can you please remove your hand from that? It's a lot to ask of me after that little display. Elaine inclines her head. You have a point, I suppose, but all the same, it will do you no good here. She's right. Galling that she would point it out so matter-of-factly, but even as I reluctantly tear my fingers from my weapon, the answer I was seeking strikes me. It was you, wasn't it? You're the reason for the increase in paranormal activity around Lunaris. It isn't her fault, but mine. Omen is still rubbing at the back of his neck as though worrying an old scar. When he meets my gaze, his aura is dimmed, sad. Omen?
Some mortal years ago, I had an argument with my father.
He pauses, mouth moving without sound. Elaine shifts on her feet where I watch her from the corner of my eyes, but she doesn't move. Her presence is once again extinguished and kept tightly under control.
It ended in my departure to your realm. He was unhappy with me leaving and tried to prevent me crossing over. I had to go into hiding, and in the journey between, it's possible I might have damaged the boundaries between our worlds. Here in this town.
Oh. And your father isn't planning on making a trip across to get you back, is he? That leaves me cold as much as it makes me want to stare at the ceiling and wonder out loud what exactly this town has done to cause so many fucking problems to become attracted to it like flies to a bloated corpse. That would be just the thing we need, wouldn't it? Lucifer himself coming through to give us another slap on the ass. No, he cannot wander so far, not as far as us. And Omen took, measures to stop us from finding him. She gives Omen a look, but he purposely ignores her. My eyes are on the hand he's still using to rub the back of his neck. I assumed it was a nervous habit, but now that I'm paying attention, I can see something that looks like a scar, that might be a scar snaking out from under his collar. It's difficult to spot, though, and it's as if he's thinking the same thing. Owen yanks his collar up to hide it. Elaine presses close to his side, their shoulders touching. Their tails intertwine briefly, almost a hand-squeeze gesture of its own, before she leans away and looks at me. We apologize for the danger we have brought to this place. It isn't me you should be apologizing to, I think. Owen gives me a pained look, but inclines his head.
You're right. I didn't know the boundaries would be so badly affected by my crossing. By all means, lycans, destroying the brand, the markings that allow my father to seek me out, should have been enough. I also hoped the boundaries would heal on their own, as they do. Likely they are, but too slowly. Perhaps.
He trails off, looking at something behind my shoulder. I turn to follow his eyes. Armorist Woodbridge stares at us from where he's half peeking from the front door. His eyes widen like a cornered rabbit when he realizes we've noticed. Before I can even open my mouth to reassure him, Elaine makes a gleeful little noise and runs to Armorist. Owen snorts, the sound almost a laugh. I was almost afraid that you don't like him. He kept the news of Elaine's arrival from me. That should be enough for me to resent him. He says that, but his eyes are soft as we look on. Elaine is holding Armorist's hand now, who looks remarkably less afraid, and whatever they're talking about is too low for me to hear, but his smile is bright. I see her smile too, and her tail curls affectionately around his waist. They make their way back over to us, Armorist eyeing me warily. I nod at Armorist when he glances at me again. The way he seemed to jump a little before smiling back is almost amusing. Have you come to fetch me or Elaine? Neither, actually. I've come to tell you that Aurora will be here soon. I wanted to. He trails off uncertainly. Probably not sure about portraying his sister's view on things yet. I'm not sure how much of that I can sympathize with, but after the mess last night, I'm nothing if not glad I don't have to see that woman again just yet. I have a feeling she would have something galling to say about all of this, that I should also make a report on. I scratch my head thinking about what exactly will go in the mission report for this entire mess. Just considering it already causes me a soul-deep pain. I need to go find Alcar anyway. Well, that would be a good idea. I hope that I'll see you later, Raven. I'm sure you will. He hums in agreement, reaching for me as though he would once put his hand on my shoulder, but he seems to think better of it last moment and turns it into an awkward wave before walking away. I linger for a moment longer, watching Armorist and Elaine's conversation. Armorist is smiling at something she says, and last thing I see as I turn away from them is Elaine kissing his cheek. Alright, I think we're gonna leave things here for now. If you're enjoying the videos, if you enjoy the series, if you enjoy the game, what have you, it would be super helpful if you could hit those like and subscribe buttons to see more. Maybe leave a comment if you're feeling generous. If you have anything to say about the game, what have you. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!